Hi everyone, welcome to Relaxation Therapy Lecture 3. I'm Katie Kipuji, and today we're just going to talk a little bit more about the window of tolerance. Mentioned this a couple of times already to a few of you. So the window of tolerance is just a term that was created by Dr. Dan Siegel to kind of create a nice metaphor to understand what optimal nervous system activity might look like. And this is different for everyone, right? And we're all kind of born with different predispositions for our nervous system, and then we have our environmental experiences that have shifted and shaped that nervous system development and current state of being. So the window of tolerance is just a zone where you tend to find your baseline, and it tends to be an optimal level of arousal in which you're able to respond to stimulus that causes hyperactivation or hypoactivation. So causes you're in that mid-zone, that baseline, you have an arousal, and then you're able to regulate within your window of tolerance. As long as the arousal level, that hyper or hypoarousal level, is within that window of tolerance, it means that you can self-regulate, you can attend to the stimulus and come back down, self-soothe. When you're outside of your window of tolerance, it's more difficult to self-regulate and come back down to your baseline or that balanced zone in your nervous system. So it's pretty normal to move out the top or the bottom of this window of tolerance into hypoarousal, because there's lots of things in life that happen that are unexpected, and usually, or what we would hope to happen, is that you're pushed out of that window of tolerance, but then over time you're able to self-soothe and get back to that nice mid-level zone. It can take longer for different experiences, right? Being chronically stuck in states of hyper or hypoarousal can cause that window of tolerance to decrease. So an example of a window of tolerance decreasing, say you used to be able to tolerate noises pretty well. Someone might be playing music really loudly, maybe there's a lot of activity around where you live, and you would note it and then kind of shift, regulate, and it was fine. You could deal with it. But you've noticed now that whenever you hear loud sounds, that music, you get a high level of irritation and anger. Muscles are tensing up. And you really just can't handle it anymore. It's really shooting you into that hyperactivation zone, and you're having a hard time coming back down or regulating with that stimulus continuing to happen around you. Right? So over time, your ability to handle noise or volume of noise has decreased. So your window has shrunk. And now there's only a certain area, a certain zone that you're able to self-soothe or self-regulate in. So now music has to be at a certain level. Or another example might be going out into social situations in public. Maybe you could go to the grocery store for an hour, 30 minutes, and that was fine. You'd get a little tired, maybe you got a little overstimulated, but you could self-regulate pretty quickly and get back to your baseline. Now you go to the grocery store, and the minute you step in to that store, you're noticing such an increase in your activation that it's almost intolerable to be there. And then you push your way through, you manage your way through, and then you leave and you have a really hard time. Maybe it takes the rest of the day for you to come back to your baseline, right? So you've noticed that over time, your tolerance for being at the grocery store has shrunk. That window of tolerance is smaller, and your ability to self-regulate outside of that activation has decreased. So this window of tolerance can widen and shrink quite a bit throughout our lives. Relaxation therapy, one of its aims or goals is to increase your window of tolerance and create more space and opportunity for self-regulation. So here's just another depiction of this window of tolerance. So when you're in that window of tolerance, you're emotionally regulated, you're calm, cool, collected, you're connected to yourself and others. You can self-soothe, you can attend to the things that are thrown at you in life and come back down in a reasonable amount of time. Some things that can push you out of the window of tolerance, maybe these are thoughts, right? Just negative thoughts, self-judgments. Maybe it's an experience of trauma and you have symptoms of PTSD, right? That'll really, really shrink that window of tolerance. Then to stay in the window of tolerance, we bring about some of the tools that you're learning in the program, right? So mindfulness, being in the here and now with yourself, grounding, embodying yourself, self-soothing, self-regulating through relaxation and breathing techniques, and reframing unhelpful thoughts so that they're more productive and positive. The hyper-aroused state, and that's sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. When you move outside of your window of tolerance and you're within that zone, you might begin to experience anxiety and overwhelm. Maybe you're noticing that you're more aggressive or irritable, have feelings of rage. There's perhaps hypervigilance. Maybe you're starting to get some behavioral addictions to finding things to help you self-soothe when your body is not able to do so on its own, right? Addictions are usually really clever strategies to self-regulate and soothe, and they work, and that's why they become an addiction. It's finding something that you're able to connect to use to give yourself a sense of peace or calm, if only for a moment. You know, even if that in the long run makes things worse, right? Which is usually the case with addictions, is they're ultimately inhibiting your ability to access your most optimal way of being. So we want to stick with those relaxation techniques, the mindfulness, the meditation, to increase your window of tolerance, increase your ability to self-soothe, increase your sense of self-empowerment. And of course, that opposite response, that hypo-aroused, being in that freeze response, that deep dorsal vagal reaction, that's the disassociation, isolation, withdraw, feeling separate from the body, the self, flat emotions. And the window of tolerance is really the ventral vagal state, right? So the ventral vagal state is when you're able to be calm, cool, collected, the rest and digest, rest and renew state. And it's a balanced, nice balanced state. So I want to be able to give you more time within that zone during the day to help tone it and broaden it so that when you do have experiences that shoot you out of that, you're able to come back down relatively quickly. And here's another depiction. It says the normal range, but I don't really like the term normal because it's different for everyone. But that zone of tolerance, that regulation, see these nice waves, right? Moving throughout the day. You're still within a self-regulatory zone, but you're able to respond with the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic and kind of rise up and down and follow that dance throughout your day. We have talked about a couple of different exercises that are useful for that, right? The diaphragmatic breathing being a really core component, progressive muscle relaxation, and then we've done some passive relaxations, and now we're looking at the autogenic training and some guided image based relaxations. So autogenic training, and we've touched in on this in most of your individual sessions, was developed in the late 20s. It's a very simple practice that works on repeating 6 main elements, and it's self-suggesting a state of relaxation, similar to the way that sometimes we smile. and the smile in itself reduces chemicals in the brain and cues the body to be like, oh, we're in a happy state, and then you start to feel feelings of happiness even though it was initially faked, right? So maybe you're not feeling that relaxed, but you just tell your body that it's experiencing these physiological states, and those physiological states are directly related to what you would be feeling if you're relaxed, and so then the body begins to feel relaxed. This autogenic training has been used predominantly in biofeedback community for headaches and migraines. The temperature training is really helpful for increased blood flow, oxygen delivery. But it was used originally for nausea and self-regulation in general. So the 6-step sequence focuses on heaviness in the limbs, warmth in the limbs, calm and even breathing, warmth in the core, cool forehead, heartbeat is regular and calm. And some of the physiological responses or benefits that have been seen from this technique are overall decreased muscle tension, lowered heart rate, lowered blood pressure, changes in brainwave activity, so maybe seeing a little bit more of those alpha waves. This does tend to be more of a deep relaxation technique, so it does start to stimulate a little bit of the dorsal vagal reaction. Increasing skin surface temperature, which is vasodilation, which is creating more blood flow throughout the body, and reduction of afferent stimulation. So the decreased muscle tension, we reach our lowest muscle tension usually when we're in REM sleep, and some people actually within this autogenic training can reach that lowest level of muscle tension just by self-suggesting. It tends to be a practice that does take some time, so you may not notice the benefits right away. Research suggests doing it 6 times a week for 8 weeks to have the most benefits. And traditional trainers would have you master one of these sensations before adding the others in. And then guided imagery. There's a couple of different guided imagery techniques that can be used and are helpful with chronic pain. One guided imagery technique is just a positive sensory experience. And this is thinking about a place, kind of your safe place, your oasis. Could be outdoor environment, could be a room somewhere, it could be nestled in a memory, could be a beautiful scene from a book that you love. Just creating that oasis and thinking about the sensations related to that, or they could be your own. You could be putting in sensations that you find positive and pleasurable. They may not necessarily be located in the same place you chose, but you can find a way to integrate them. So thinking about sight, sound, taste, smell, and physical touch, and filling your guided imagery meditation with those things. When the mind remembers sensations, it often recreates it physiologically, or recreates that physiological response. So if you think about eating the wedge of a lemon, for example, you may begin to salivate, and that is the body kind of recreating or getting prepped for the experience of eating the lemon wedge. So positive memories, positive sensations can bring about that state of calm, the state of flow, state of joy, which can create overall soothing qualities in the body. Lots of guided imagery meditations out there in different locations. So we can create one that's specific to you, very individualized. We can also explore ones that have been created. Another guided imagery technique is to create some visualizations with areas of pain, creating an image for the pain itself, an embodied symbol to represent that experience, and then beginning to visualize shifting and changing or even moving that image from the body. So just kind of playing with visualization techniques in the pain itself. So the guided imagery with the sensations tends to be moving away from the body, creating more of that positive distraction. The focusing in and creating visualizations around the pain is about shifting your relationship or experience with a particular pain sensation. Guided imagery can, if you have a tendency for intrusive images or thoughts, particularly around PTSD type symptoms or trauma experiences, guided imagery moments sometimes set the stage for those things to come flooding in. So if you just notice any of that happening, if we are doing those exercises, if you notice any of that happening, let me know, let someone else know. Don't feel like you have to power through it. The point is not for you to be distressed, right? But to find a peaceful and calm state of relaxation, especially with the positive sensory guided imagery. And that's the end of that little blurb for today with our lecture. You will be having a guided experience in group, and I will talk to you individually if you have any questions about this. And thank you for listening.